GM to YouTube. GM. I just recently played the RS3 leagues for quite a while, and I can say, without a doubt, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing it. It was really, really enjoyable. I had a very good time with it. We streamed the whole thing, and I gotta say, a lot of people are asking me like, hey, should I go give it a shot? You should give it a shot. You should give it a try. If it's even a thought in the back of your mind, you should at least give it a try. The worst that can happen is that you log out after not enjoying it, right? There's no downside. I see a lot of old school players say stuff like EOC ruined the game and stuff like interface is terrible. The interface is completely customizable, and you can actually import the interface. Any other player's name, you can just grab their interface. So that's not really an issue. And EOC is so fleshed out and deep, and I had so much fun delving into the combat. So if you've heard those two things and you're like, I'm not going to play RuneScape 3, it sounds bad, I would give Leagues a shot. There's no microtransactions, there's nothing going on, it's worth a shot. Now with that out of the way, I have a lot of thoughts about the Leagues, I have a lot of good things to say about it, I have a lot of problems with it, and I wanted to talk about my thoughts on RuneScape 3 in general while we're at it. Before we get into it, if you have not subscribed, we are a mere 2,000 subs off of 100K, and apparently my wife has some secret surprise planned. So sub if you have not. Okay, so what the heck is Leagues? What is this about? It's the same as old school's Leagues, which they've done repeatedly. This is big boosted XP rates, and then there are tasks to complete to unlock relics at certain tiers. And these relics are going to hugely buff you. Things like mining super quickly, woodcutting super quickly, catching things quickly, etc., all the way up to turning into a literal god. This Leagues does not include things like combat masteries we saw in Echo Leagues. There's no Echo bosses, that kind of thing. It's a more simple, laid out, straightforward Leagues, which honestly might be better if you're looking to just take things a little easy and ease into learning how RS3 works and give it a shot. It's not as overwhelming as old school's Leagues. It's a little more simple and straightforward, which could be a good thing depending on your perspective. If you're looking to try it out, shout out RS Guy. He's RuneScape 3's biggest streamer. He has a full Leagues step-by-step guide, the way a lot of the streamers do for old school. Things you can do, you could just follow this if you want, just follow it step by step and get your way through the basic relics, or you can just break off and start doing your own thing at any point. He also has full guides on his website on how things work, how the tick system works, how to set up keybinds, how combat works, you know, anything that you would need to get set up in RS3, he has it all laid out on his website. I'll put a link to that in the description if you have any interest in trying it out. If the big thing keeping you away as well is the microtransactions, just keep in mind that they are testing some stuff to cut down on microtransactions, and Leagues doesn't have any. There are no microtransactions whatsoever in Leagues. Everybody is an Ironman, and Ironman in base game already don't have microtransactions. So you don't need to worry about that with Leagues either if you wanted to give it a shot. Well, all the reasons to try it out of the way, I wanted to say my issues with this league, because there are a lot. So this is RuneScape 3's very first Leagues, and it shows really hard. The progression is extremely slow. And they've actually done a change that cuts the points required for each tier relic down by about 40%, and it's just still not enough. It's still too slow. So what I was running into quite a bit is that it took a ton of points to get to the next tier. Day one, I played about 13 hours. I played a long time, and I ended that day finishing Dragon Slayer. Okay, that's where I got to. I had gotten the tier 3 relic just barely. That was as far as I had gotten. There are 7 total relics. In Echo Leagues, solo mission by the end of day 1 had all relics unlocked, all combat masteries, everything. He had done everything. So if that goes to show the difference here, tier 3, I think is roughly 10% of the total points required to tier 7. So we had made 10% progress in day 1 to the end. Obviously, relics you get later are going to speed things up a lot, but this is looking to be about, from the beginning, it was about 20% the speed of an Echo League, something like that. So much, much, much slower. So they fixed it a bit. The other issue I keep running into, I'd say the progression is still very slow. The main reason for this is they do not have region locking. And you would think like total freedom should speed things up. Because all the regions are allowed, they have not added extra points to make up for that. So we have roughly the same amount of points as in old school Leagues across the entire game. And keep in mind, RuneScape 3 is a much bigger game than old school. Like map-wise, it's huge. It's massive. There are so many different area expansions. They have the entire Eastern Islands. They have so much going on. And we have the same amount of points to fill it. The other problem with no region locking is you don't auto-unlock a ton of quests. There are some quests that are auto-unlocked, mainly the ones for the entire elf quest line are auto-completed. That's huge. That's great. But a lot of quest lines are not auto-unlocked, like the entire vampire quest line. Keep in mind that the quests, there's maybe 30% more quests in RS3 as well. And most of those are Grandmaster quests. Like, there are a huge amount more quests. It's one of the big things people love about RuneScape 3 is how good the quests are. The problem is that they are much longer and harder than in old school. And they're also required oftentimes for combat. There are a lot of quests. One of the ones I ran into was one piercing note is the quest, is required for an ability called Devotion. In RuneScape 3, protection prayers are 50% effective. This ability for, I think it's 10 seconds, makes your protection prayers 100% effective, which a lot of bosses just straight up one-shot you if you aren't using this. So I was like, oh, I want to try out Arch Clay Sword. Chat's like, nah, man, you don't have Devotion. You're going to have to go unlock that. Another thing in RS Guy's guide was I ran into the Fort 4 and 3, which is a hub for all kinds of things. It's a skilling hub, and that quest line leads up to Vorkath. I think you can skip it and still kill Vorkath. Vorkath is an endgame boss in RS3. They took it from old school. The guide says, hey, spend 2 hours at this point building the fort. You don't have to do this right now if you don't want to, but it is very important. And he's not wrong. It's very important. You can do all kinds of skilling there. It's buffed. You really need to build the fort. It gives you a bunch of construction XP. It's important. 4 hours into Leagues, you'll have a 2-hour step that says build the fort. All of this leads to halt the pace, like really, really badly. The last really bad thing about the RS3 Leagues is that the combat relic is tier 5. Tier 5. Like I said, at the end of day 1, I got to tier 3. Tier 5, with the beginning point spread, was going to take about 3 days, roughly 3 days of play to get to a slight the very first buff to combat, which means that you're not doing any combat in those 3 days, or at least very little. What you are doing is skilling and quests, which is not RS3's strong point. I mean, the quests are good, but it's early quests, which are not the interesting ones. The quests that people love in RS3 are all the end Grandmaster hyper quests where you're fighting gods and crazy things are happening. None of that's happening when you're doing Restless Ghost and Priest in Peril and Rune Mysteries. Keep in mind, Rune Mysteries is a remade quest that takes an hour to complete. You know, this is most of what you're doing early is these early quests. So that's unfortunate. So that's my issues with Leagues. I'll say the fun that I had with it was the last day I played it, I got to my combat relic. I got tier 5, and I just had fun with it all day. Did a mole mass to unlock the PVM hub, and I went to start killing bosses. I tried Vindicta. I tried Araxxor, and Araxxor I pushed. Araxxor is an enraged boss, which I've talked about a lot on the channel. Enraged bosses scale. Araxxor doesn't get better loot as you kill him, but he does get harder every time you kill him. So I went to Araxxor with very, very weak gear. I had a Crystal Halberd. That was my main hand weapon. Not great considering RS3 standards. Yes, I had my buffed combat relics, but I was pretty weak in the grand scheme. I grabbed some gear from Bandos. I had like a Bandos chest plate and most of the gear pieces from Bandos. And I pushed Rax to 80% enrage, and it forced me to learn things like ability rotations. I had to start throwing in defensive abilities to survive. I had to learn how to prayer swap on the fly, movement, ability rotations, using the right abilities in the right order to do damage. It was really, really fun. I had a lot of fun with that. It was a great time. I felt like I really got to experience PVM. And I know I didn't even get close to doing anything super difficult. Araxxor is a joke now compared to other bosses, but I did it in very low gear, very weak potions, and I had a blast with it. I really had a lot of fun trying out the PVM. I had a great time. In general, the PVM doesn't feel held back at all. Old school, a lot of the times, they need to include those mid-level players even in the endgame bosses. We've seen it with things like Toa, where it's like, we need scaling difficulty, we need things to be fair, we can't have anything be too hard. RS3 doesn't care. RS3, yes, they will include those early options for players, but they don't expect anyone to be doing them long term. The way you do bosses in RS3 is you push and you do them at the top difficulty or you don't get rewarded. Bosses scale up to sometimes 40 times, sometimes almost infinitely more difficult in the case of Zamorak. So the RuneScape 3 devs, no holds barred. They are playing to an elite crowd. They are adding bosses for those people. They are difficult, they are hard, and they expect you to sink your teeth in and really get good if you want to get rewarded, which is something we don't see a ton with old school. It's a very different experience. I really enjoyed it. If you've heard EOC bad, EOC bad, EOC bad, that's not true. EOC is really cool. You might not jive with the way that combat works, but genuinely it's really, really fun the way that they've set out PVM in that game. I love it. I think it's really, really good. EOC, when it first came out, was a terrible system. It was super buggy. Things just didn't work. There were no special attacks. even in the game when they launched EOC. They just took all special attacks out of the game. Claws were worth like 50k overnight. You know, like things like that. Like huge oversights. But now, modern day RS3, combat is amazing. It's come into its own. It is a great system. It's not just WoW. It is really fun. It's really enjoyable. And there's a lot of depth to it. A lot of people really enjoy it. It is good. It is actually good. I can say that without hesitating. Like, it is an amazing system. Is it better than old school's PVM? That's up to taste. I really like the point and click simplicity of old school, but it has depth born out of the simplicity. Whereas RS3 has insane depth. It's very complex. It's very different. But it's a great system. It's a great system. You might not like it. I'd say it's worth giving a try if what I've said sounds interesting to you whatsoever. I would definitely go give Leagues a shot. One of the I wanted to talk about RS3 in general, a lot of the bad with it. One of the things I don't see get talked about a lot when we're talking about RS3 bad. Everything, people always mention EOC. They always mention the interface is overwhelming. It's too much. It looks ugly. It's bad. Which it's not. It's good. It's totally customizable. I really like it. One of the things that never gets brought up is the dailies. And I would say the dailies are far, far worse than the microtransactions at this point. They are far worse. I wanted to show Wildy Flash events because I think these are actually hourly. You can do them every hour on the hour. And it was becoming a joke in my chat as I did the leagues because there are all of these dailies in leagues that every hour on the hour, oh, don't miss it. Oh, there's a Wildy event. Gotta go do that. The FOMO and the dailies is absurd. They want to get you to log in so bad every single day to at least do your dailies. So I wanted to show these quick. These are all the different Wildy Flash events, and you can see what they're going to be each hour on the hour. This is what they are. All of them are incredibly rewarding. They will give you two things. Let me give an example. There's one that's like corrupted outcrop. Okay, so there's some ores that just pop up in the Wildy, and this is one of the events. What was this called? It's called Unnatural Outcrop. There you go, Unnatural Outcrop. So this, near the Mage of Zamorak that tells you to the Abyss, a bunch of these ores are going to pop up. You mine 25 of them, so you just walk up, mine 25, hand them in, and then after 5 minutes, boom, you'll get your reward. Your reward is going to be a sack of wild rewards, which I have here. It includes this. Keep in mind, the requirement to do this is level 1 mining. They give you 10 to 20 black salamanders, which is huge for invention, 40 to 60 red chins, 1 to 2 bloodweed seeds. It's 3 of these rolls off this table. 1 to 2 bloodweed seeds, these give you aggression, but this would be like if they gave you Huasca seeds, 1 to 2 of them. 20 to 40 infernal ashes, which is like if they gave you 20 to 40 dragon bones. Infernal ashes are in old school, like Serb drops them. So it's like that. It's like 20 to 40 dragon bones. 4 to 60, it goes on and on and on. These down here are the important one too. These are just straight up cash. These are just straight up alks, 20 to 40k cash, 48 to 100k cash, and 73k cash. So it gives you this, which you can get right off Tutorial Island. You can go in the Wildy and you can do this. There's no combat. You just go and click rocks. The other thing it gives you is a huge chunk of experience, which if we scroll down, we can actually look at that. This is how the experience works. Early on, it's very little. It's kind of like lamps. Let's say you're mid-level, you're at 70 mining. You're going to get 22k mining XP for that 5 minutes of work. And yes, RS3 has boosted stats, but that doesn't come into play until later. Things are not very fast until you're post 90 mining, right? So getting a 22k chunk of XP and around 100k cash, maybe 30k prayer XP is disgusting. It's absolutely crazy. And you can do this every hour on the hour. That's not to mention, this is one of the lesser events. There's an Evil Tree event that gives you 3 lots of XP, 3 of these baby sacks. These are not even the good ones. And then 1 very special wild sack, a giga sack that gives you even more loot. So all of this happens. God forbid you miss your Evil Tree. I had a guy in my chat at one point tell me that he was setting an alarm for midnight and he was waking up his girlfriend to go do his goddamn Evil Tree because you don't want to miss it. The FOMO, you gotta get that. I want to also show, this is a website called Dailyscape. This is like a tracker tool you can use to make sure you do all of your dailies every day, okay? So I wanted to quickly show this. We have the Traveling Merchant, which has a different stock every day and lets you skip horrendous grinds, potentially, things like Livid Farm, things you don't want to do. You could potentially buy these and skip them. That's what the Metaphite gift is. I think it lets you skip some of the favor, like in Zaya. So you could skip that by buying this. We have daily challenges, which give a huge chunk of XP. Jack of Trades, XP. Soul Reaper, which is how you get Zenites in this game. You do daily boss tasks. player-owned ports, which gives you endgame invention components. It is required to go into endgame PVM, and it goes, especially Gothixian caches, this is very important. This is how you primarily train the divination skill. You won't do anything except these to train the skill. Every single day you'll do 2 of these. It goes on, and you think that's the end, but no, because all the shops in the game are daily. So if you're an Iron Man and you need runes, you know how it's shopscape in old school? Well, it's even more so in this game because they don't restock until the day resets. So buy all your runes, do your Viswax, buy your feathers, and then you get into the weeklies, which, and then you get into the monthlies, which, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. If you want to be efficient every single day, you'll do about 2 hours of dailies. That is not an exaggeration. If you want to really push it, you can do up to 6 hours. I can tell you as an old school player, I was an RS3 player a long time ago and I quit. I can tell you as an old school player, constantly doing quests, which are potentially longer, and no quest helper. There's no clients in RuneScape 3, so you have to manually do the good old-fashioned turn your neck to the wiki, turn back through Priest in Peril, Restless Ghost, all of these early quests, and every hour on the hour doing my Wildy Flash events. And if it's not a Flash event I can do, like if it was combat and I would get killed, at least I can do my Gothixian cache every hour on the hour, doing dailies every single hour on the hour until I fall over dead, endlessly, going on and on and on. I can tell you it's such a huge turnoff. I crashed out on day 1 from how slow the progress was, but really a lot of what added up was these dailies as well. Just like stones on my back just getting added up, like the weight of the FOMO of the feeling when you miss a Flash event because you were doing a long quest and I missed the Flash event. No, dude. I just lost like a huge chunk of XP. Keep in mind that XP for the Flash events was scaled for leagues, so missing 20k mining was like missing 200k mining, you know? Like, you don't want to miss that. It was really, really painful. I can say it was also really painful to look for affirmation, like, oh my god, am I the only one, like, really frustrated by this? And going to the subreddit and seeing stuff like this. Stop questing. You don't need to quest. There are 100k points available, and unless you're trying to complete every task, losing 1k points for not doing quests is not going to hurt you. Only quest if it unlocks content you want to do, or if it gives enough experience to justify the time spent. AKA, spending 10 minutes on Sea Slug is worth it to jump right to 40 fishing to get the fishing task done quicker. Many quests are very long and are required to unlock combat abilities, different bosses. You cannot skip quests. Just because all these quests are not locking points does not mean you can skip them. I see posts like this, like reaffirming, like, hey, the questing is fine, get over it, you know? And stuff like this. This is the first leagues, fellas. Just play it. I can already see myself in the 3rd league saying, man, that first league was so slow compared to this. And that's the fun part for me. Same thing happened with old school. The first league was basically a test monkey. Yeah, you could argue there's a lot of data from old school, but the games aren't exactly the same, are they? You couldn't have looked at Twisted Leagues and seen like auto-completing quests was kind of important. Like, we couldn't have looked at the mistakes old school has made and fixed it. The games aren't exactly the same. They're more similar than you would think. They really are. I also saw this post that said, adjusted league perspective, new foundations is for construction training, not task quest points. Think of it that way, and it'll be less draining. As title suggests, the boss battle that quest chain leads to auto-unlocks either way. Forward's mostly for nice bonuses at a leisurely pace. Guys, if you don't like something, just change your thinking. Like, just learn to cope with it. Yeah, 2 hours of construction, 4 hours in the leagues, doesn't feel great, but just think about it this way. It's construction training, smiley face. You spend 2 hours to get 60 construction in the middle of leagues. That's a good thing. I also just repeatedly in my chat had people defending these decisions left and right. At the end of day 1, I had a full-on crash out, and I said, this is ridiculous. They need to fix things. It's too slow. There's too many quests. The dailies are horrendous. It's not working. And I had people going, the quests are good. I like doing quests. And I had people going, it's not supposed to be fast. It's different than old school. RS3 is different. And I had people telling me, you're just bad. You need to get good. You're terrible at this game. So that's why it's slow. Keep in mind, rank 1 was like 40% ahead of me. Not by that much. And I was 10% of the way to the tier 7 relic overall. So one of the things I learned from this experience is that the RS3 player base is completely different than the old school player base. And I'm not blaming the entire RS3 player base. A lot of people were with me, like, you gotta fix this stuff. I was seeing posts like that all over the subreddit. But for every post I saw that was like, hey, this needs to be fixed, you guys need to do this, I saw a different post crop up that was like, you guys need to learn to accept what's going on. You guys are complaining too much. You guys need to just accept the mediocrity. Accept the slop that's put in front of you, and just keep going. It's going to be okay. When I say this, I am not blaming the RuneScape 3 streamers. Try as hard as they can to make RuneScape a good game. They make resources like this with just a beautiful document for new players to try out. I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming the devs, who I'm sure don't get to make all the decisions. And management is the ones telling them to add microtransactions, things like that. I'm not blaming them either. From what I've heard, the RS3 devs are really passionate, and they really do care. Who I am calling out are the RuneScape 3 player base that accept mediocrity, and frankly, they have Stockholm Syndrome. They've received horrible update after horrible update after horrible update, and they're like a beaten dog at this point. They accept Jagex at every fault, and they say, Jagex, it's okay. It's okay. You're doing good enough. We appreciate you. You're giving us plenty. You're doing good enough. When old school players encounter stuff like this, they don't put up with it. They don't. When they added EOC, the old school players quit in droves. When they tried to remove RuneLight, the posts on Reddit made it to the top. They made it to the top of all. We don't put up with stuff. And look at where the player count is at. We are encountering the golden age. The game has never been as good as it is right now. And to see RuneScape 3 dying, I cannot blame Jagex for this. Because Jagex is a company, right? Jagex is out to make money in whatever way works best. Well, they can put out microtransactions and people put up with it. They can put out crazy updates that have massive issues and people put up with it. It's not Jagex's fault. It's the players that put up with it, and they're Jagex apologists. It's crazy to see. I see it so much, and I was not expecting it. It was crazy as an old school player to come to this game and see just the way people act. It's crazy to me. I can't help but think that what Jagex could have done is completely cut dailies from the leagues just to see how it worked out, and then with that data started removing them from the main game slowly. It'd be a slow process. There are so many, it's almost impossible to get through them, but they could start. They could start doing that. I cannot help but think that if they did that, there would be people complaining that leagues removed the dailies and it was slowing things down for them. They were not getting those juicy wild stacks from their flash events. They weren't getting those Gathixian cash XP drops. There would be people complaining that they took away the thing that is ruining their game. There would be. And it's because of these players that the game is stagnating and dying. I saw some people excited that they had a little bump in the player base for RuneScape 3. I saw posts like, wow, I've never seen this many people online. Leagues is temporary. It's going to go away. The player count's already dipped right back down. There was a little bit of FOMO for Leagues, and the hype is already starting to die, especially with the slow pace of it. Leagues is not going to save the game. It's not. It's a little thing to generate hype. No one is coming over to RuneScape 3, or very, very few people, after seeing all of the issues it has. To the RuneScape 3 player base, I say this: demand more out of your game, or it'll die. It'll shrivel up and it'll die. If you do not demand more out of the game, don't demand Jagex to do things like rip dailies out, rip microtransactions out, that kind of thing, the game is going to die. The CEO, in a conversation, or in like their podcast, claimed that he wanted RuneScape 3 to last 25 to 50 years. He wanted to see deep into the future and see what that game would be. If you guys keep putting up with mediocre updates, a simple league slapped together to please you, it's not going to get better. It will never get better. It doesn't matter what the CEO says, it's not going to get any better. It's up to the player base, it's not up to Jagex. If Jagex can keep getting you guys to pay for microtransactions, they'll keep putting them in the game. They're not going to get rid of them. They were talking about potentially cutting down microtransactions. What they tested for a week was removing treasure hunter, like the RNG spin aspect of it, and just allowed people to directly buy XP. That's not an improvement. That's not an improvement. But that's not good enough. And people were like, yay, they're fixing the game. They're not fixing the game. They're not removing anything. And they're not going to if people keep putting up with stuff. And to the old school players, I say keep it up. I've seen this mentality starting to slip. You need to be an apologist for Jagex. You need to stop complaining so much. Every single video I put up, I see comments that are like, stop complaining. all you do is whine. All you do is complain. Complaining is what gets us good updates. And this is proof. This is the proof. RuneScape 3 has been dying slowly and old school isn't, because we put our foot down and we do complain and we do quit. So I'm not gonna stop complaining. When I see stinky updates like Yama contracts that are completely impossible to complete, I'm gonna complain about it. I'm not gonna stop because I want old school to stay in the golden age and I don't want it to die like RuneScape 3 is. When they thought they could put out surveys and see maybe, just maybe, the old school player base would be open to paying for customer support and putting up with ads in-game, the subreddit imploded. The player base imploded. I saw people complain like crazy. Everybody was making videos about it. Huge YouTubers were talking about it. Critical was making a video on it. Like, it was crazy. Everyone was talking about it. People that didn't play RuneScape knew about it. Imagine if the reach that had applied to things in RuneScape 3. Not too long ago, about a year ago, they added a battle pass, and the final reward was 15% damage reduction at Zamorak, the hardest boss in the game. Get a bonus for paying into the battle pass, you get 15% less damage taken. Imagine if old school did that. 15% less damage taken if you pay us in Inferno. But I bet somehow, when this happened in RuneScape 3, you didn't hear about it. You didn't hear about it at all. The subreddit was talking about it, but there was not a huge stink made like there is with old school. Not at all. I put out the call at the beginning of the video to say, try leagues if you haven't. RuneScape 3 does have redeeming qualities. It is good. You should try it out. With that, I asked the RuneScape 3 player base to take that and run with it. Take these old school players that have been shutting Jagex down for so long and telling them no, run with them. Stop putting up with stuff and ask for more. Ask for more. RuneScape 3 can be good. If they work hard to uproot all of these awful... So many people I've seen say, microtransactions are impossible to remove. They've been in the game so long. According to who? According to what? Who's making that? Are you apologizing for Jagex by saying that? Is that what we're doing now? Ask for more. Demand more. There is no reason they can't remove microtransactions. Yes, they're a company. It's a huge amount of their profit. Who cares about that? Why do you care about Jagex's bottom line? RS3 is perfectly capable of removing a bunch of the things that make the game bad and organically growing the player base back up to a good level. It's absolutely possible. Will it happen? I doubt it with what I've seen from the RuneScape 3 player base. Unless something changes drastically and we start seeing some actual pushback, I don't think it's ever going to change. I really think this league is RuneScape 3's last chance. This is their last chance. They've seen a bump in the player base a little bit. This is the last opportunity for people to put Jagex's feet under the fire and demand more. Demand huge sweeping changes. RuneScape 3 is absolutely capable of being amazing. It is a good game. It's just mired by all this garbage, all this disgusting muck. Scrape the muck off, start over. Like, there's no need for the whole tree to die. The leaves have fallen off. It's not looking good. Let's stop poisoning it. Let's remove the poison and help it start growing back. Add some fertilizer, add some water. Let's start doing some good. To the RuneScape 3 players that are still pushing back, keep fighting the good fight. I swear it's possible to bring the game back. I swear. They've been trying a lot of stuff. I want to see it come back. I really do. I would love to see RuneScape 3 thrive again, have old school players jumping back and forth from both games and enjoying both, and just having a thriving community on both sides, because there's no reason it can't be. And that's going to do it for the video. I don't think I'm going to end up going back to RuneScape 3 leagues. They've been really slow on the changes, and they've been saying they can't really do much to auto-complete the quests, so I don't think I'll end up going back. They really needed more time to cook on this one. They needed to look at more of the mistakes that old school made before it came out, because now the hype is starting to die and it's just not the same as it was on day one. The wind is out of people's sails. I think even if they fix things in what seems to be like a couple weeks, it's just not gonna have the hype it had at launch. Leave a like if you liked it and or subscribe. I'll see you fellas. Bye. Mwah!